Hey Gloomers, welcome back to Nerdhaven. My name is Mike, and today we're going to be talking about the Crimson Scales fan-made expansion for Gloomhaven. And I have an announcement to share with you. It is probably on the border of spoiler. It includes details about a new feature that's going to be part of the Trail of Ashes expansion for Crimson Scales. I talked to BG, and we sort of talked through what this new feature would be. And he gave me permission to share it here, so this is a bit of an exclusive here that you're going to get to learn about this new feature. I'm also in the process of helping to convert all of the Crimson Scales assets over to Gloomhaven Enhanced 1.3 for TTS. And so that's going to include a ton of new features. All the classes will be supported on 1.3. It'll include spawnable overlay tiles for the different classes that have them, all of the custom conditions that are part of Crimson Scales, all of the custom enemies, all of the scenarios will be scripted just like the core campaign is. That will include enemies that have modified stats or conditions for certain scenarios. Many of the classes are going to have 3D figures like the core Gloomhaven that I've put together. And a lot of the forms that you would use, like your party tracker or your treasure index, are going to be fillable, so you'll be able to check those off. So a lot of really good quality of life features coming in that. Hopefully in the next month or two, we'll have that finished. Shout out to a few people from the Custom Content Unity Guild that have helped me with that. In particular, Dareth has been a huge help in scripting some of the scenarios with me. But let's get back to the core of today's video, which again is about the milestone piece that is part of Crimson Scales. So let me just show you real quick here. The Crimson Scales website, when you go to it, you'll actually see in the menu right up here something called Milestones. And this is a neat little page where each class has its own custom password protected page that, to be frank, it's a bit on the honor system. There is a checklist that you could see here. And as you complete each of the check marks on that checklist, once it's completed, you have the password that you can actually use. So I'm going to go into the Tusks character here. So the password is leader. And when I put that password in, I get the milestone page for the Orchid Chieftain. And they generally have some sort of like fancy animated artwork that's pretty cool to go along with the class character. I think all of these classes, if not most, all of them have been, the artwork was by Alexander Alachev, who's a Ukrainian artist and was the main artist for the, the core Gloomhaven game that came out, as well as Frosthaven, which is right around the corner. As you go down, you kind of see some details about maybe some of the influences or other art that came along with the class. Here again, you could see some additional pieces here. This is detail from BG, who is actually the lead developer for Crimson Scales. Some of these will have sort of reveals of Easter eggs and whatnot. So this is pretty neat, but the main thing that you want to be aware of is that there's actually an additional card that you can use to make your deck that you unlock and gain access to once you achieve the milestone. For the Orchid Chieftain, we could see this is an M card. It's not a level 1 through 9 or an X card, but for the purposes of enhancements, you should treat this like a level 1 or X card. And this, again, is an additional card. It's sort of intended to be a capstone card for the class, and it unlocks some sort of valuable new abilities that you'll want to take advantage of. So for this one, it's a double summon. We have a 10 initiative, and it's a Warrior Hawk on the top. It's a 4 health summon. It's a mount, and it's got 1 attack and 3 move. It'll target 1 enemy within 2 hexes, so it sort of does a ranged melee attack. And again, you can see while mounted on this summon, you can target enemies within 2 hexes with all of your single target melee attacks. And it's also flying, so pretty powerful summon. On the bottom, you have a Swamp Hippo, 6 hit points, 1 move, 3 attack, also a mount, and after killing an enemy, the summon generates Earth. So again, depending on your playstyle and what strategy you're using, could also be a pretty valuable summon. So again, going to the Chieftain's Milestone card, the milestone requires you to perform a summon action and mount the summon during the same turn 10 times. Once you've completed that, you've unlocked the milestone. I'm just going to kind of walk through each of the rest of the milestones, and we'll go from there. Next, we'll look at the Amber Aegis. The milestone requirement is to place a colony token 10 times. Here's the M card we'll unlock. It's Razorweb Puppetry, 39 initiative. On the top non-loss, one ally within range 2 performs an attack 3, and you can consume fire to add rupture and advantage to the attack, plus gain an XP. On the bottom, we have a one enemy within range 3 performs move 2 with you controlling the ability, and you can consume earth to target 2 enemies instead and gain an XP. Next milestone is for the Artificer. You can accumulate and spend 10 scrap to unlock this milestone. And when you do, milestone card is 75 initiative. It's called Adaptive Engineering. And on the top, you have a non-loss. You or one adjacent ally may refresh one of your spent or consumed head, foot, one hand, or two hand items. The target may also recover one level 1 or X card from their discard pile if you use a scrap with this card, and you'd also gain an XP with that. On the bottom, we have a loss of kill one summoned ally you own to perform attack 3 and target all enemies within 2 hexes of the killed summon. Also generates 2 scrap and 2 XP, but again, that is a loss. Next, we have the Bombard. The milestone requires that you trigger a projectile ability 10 times. And when you do, we unlock Pummeling Chain, which is 17 initiative. The top is a non-loss, pull 4, self towards one enemy within range 5. And you can move through enemies with this pull. After that, you then attack 3, all enemies moved through with the pull ability. The bottom is a pull 2, range 3, and a heal 3 self. The top of this is really interesting. Pretty interesting card design, so I think that could be a lot of fun. Next we have the Brightspark, and the milestone requirement for this is to complete all of the persistent tracks of an action on an ability card 10 times. For Brightspark is called Creative Sparks. It's 40 initiative. The top is a non-loss attack 3. You can consume fire to give it Pierce 2 and advantage, plus 1 XP. And all enemies and allies adjacent to the target suffer 1 damage. And if an ally suffered damage this way, you generate light. And on the bottom, move 3 with jump. You can consume air in order to add 2 move and gain an XP. If you end this movement on a money token, you can generate any element you want. So that's a pretty nice card. Next, we'll look at the Chainguard. The milestone requirement for this is to kill a shackled enemy 10 times. Once you do, you'll unlock Rope Pit, which is a 32 initiative card. The top is create a 3 damage trap in an empty hex within range 2. And when the trap is sprung by an enemy, you perform pull 3 shackle, targeting the enemy, and then discard the card. So this is a persistent card until it goes off. You get an XP for it. It's not a loss. On the bottom, you have move 1 trap within range 2 to a different empty hex within range 2, and then you can move 4. So a lot of utility around traps with this card. I think that could be very useful. Moving on to the Fire Knight. The milestone requirement is to place your ladder and end your turn on it during the same turn 10 times. That will allow you to unlock the Improvised Methods card, which has a 16 initiative. The top is a push 2, target 1 adjacent ally. That ally suffers 1 damage. The pushed ally may then perform an attack 4 with Muddle. On the bottom, we have a round ability that starts with a move 2. You may then place your ladder within 2 hexes, and all allies that enter the ladder's hex may add range 3 to their melee attacks or gain advantage on their ranged attacks for the round. Next is the Heirophant. The milestone requirement here is to give an ally 1 prayer ability and experience them playing it 10 times. Once you do, you'll unlock Uplifting Ascension. It's an 80 initiative card. The top is a heal 3, range 3. You place your character token on the figure affected by the heal ability. That figure gains flying while this card is active, and the next time the figure suffers any damage, you discard this card. And the bottom is an invisible range 1. You can consume light to add range 2 additional range to it, as well as a heal 1, plus you get an XP for that. And you can consume earth, and if you affected an ally, you give the ally 1 prayer ability card. Next we have the Hollowpact. This milestone requires that you perform Void Sight while you have at least 1 Void Energy token 10 times. Once you do, you unlock the Void Consumes, which is a 35 initiative card. On the top, you can use 3 Void tokens to perform an attack 6, push 1 with advantage, and you create a Void Pit obstacle in an adjacent empty hex, while also generating Dark. On the bottom, you'll have a move 2, then you'll destroy 1 adjacent obstacle, and if you do, you gain a Void token. You may create a Void Pit obstacle in a hex the destroyed obstacle occupied. And then finally, you'll immobilize 1 enemy adjacent to the Void Pit. Next up, we have the Luminary. The milestone requirement here is that you consume an element to perform a glow action 10 times. And when you've completed that, you'll unlock Drawn into the Light, which is a 47 initiative card. The top is attack 3, range 2, pull 1. You can consume any element to add 2 range and 2 pull, plus get an XP. You can also consume any element to add +1 attack and generate any element. On the bottom, it is a loss, but you can have 2 glow cards active at once. When a third is played, move one of the others to the discard pile. You also get to generate 1 of any element, plus you gain 2 XP when you play that. Next is the Mirefoot. The milestone here requires that you apply Poison 2 or Wound 2 to an enemy 10 times. Once you've completed that, you'll unlock Giant Slayer, which is a 22 initiative card. The top is an attack 1 with advantage. You can add +2 attack if the target is an elite enemy, or add +4 attack if the target is a boss or named enemy. On the bottom, you'll have a move 3 with jump. And for the round, if you move through 1 enemy with the move ability whose current hit point value is greater than your maximum hit point value, then you'll add +2 attack to your next melee attack targeting that enemy this round. Next we have the Ruinmaw. This requires that you become sated 10 times in order to complete the milestone. Once you do, you'll unlock Bloodright. At 67 initiative, the top has 1 adjacent ally suffers 2 damage, and you perform Heal 3 Self, Empower, Empower. So this one gives a big thank you to your teammate in order to serve yourself. On the next attack, you'll also gain Pierce 1 and advantage. The bottom has a move 3, and you are immune to all negative conditions while sated, and that's a persistent ability. Next, we're going to look at the Starslinger. The milestone requirement here is to affect an ally in a yellow hex and target an enemy in a red hex during the same action 10 times. When you've completed that milestone, you'll unlock Deflection, which is a 46 initiative card. On the top, we have an attack 2, pierce 2. There's an AoE pattern here, and you may swap positions with an ally in a yellow hex. If you do, you gain 1 XP. On the bottom, we have the next 4 times you suffered damage from Retaliate. The retaliating figure suffers an equal amount of damage. It's a 4-track. The first and third track will give an XP, and the second and fourth track will do a heal 2 for yourself. And the last milestone card to look at here is for the Spirit Caller. To complete this milestone, you have to experience a spirit dying in a hex adjacent to you 10 times. And once you've done that, you'll unlock Terror of the Deep, which is 33 initiative. The top is a spawn of a reaching tentacle, has 2 health, 2 attack, 4 range, and a pull 4. You can pull the target onto the hex occupied by the spirit. Also generates wind. The bottom allows you to spawn a One-Eyed Terror, which has 1 health, no move, but 2 attack and 3 pierce. It attacks in a long AoE attack pattern, and on death it will wound all adjacent enemies. This spirit may be spawned adjacent to an enemy within range 6. It also generates Dark and grants 2 XP when played. So just a little bit more about the Trail of Ashes expansion. It is going to introduce 5 additional classes. All of them were developed by creators in the Custom Content Unity Guild. It'll have 2 additional bosses and 16 more scenarios. And each of the new classes will also have a milestone card, although those aren't completed yet. And the classes are pretty cool looking. So the first one is the Ruinmaw. The second is the Tempest. Third is the Shard Render. Fourth is the Incarnate. And last is the Thorn Reaper, which was created by the same developer as the Mirefoot. Now these cards are not quite yet available for print and play, but they will be available in the TTS mod. This is a quick little update. You can see some of the 3D miniatures that I've created for many of these classes. And within this mod, you could see that each class will have its milestone card on the table. Those boxes will be fillable. They're not quite yet. And once you've completed your 10, this is actually a bag. The first thing you'll see is a little spoiler warning card to make sure that you've met all the milestone requirements before you go any further. And once you have, you can see here is your new card. And this, again, you can be added right to your deck, and it'll be fully supported just like any other card that you'd have in your deck. So that's all we have for today. Hopefully you like the new milestone feature. I think it's pretty neat and exciting. It certainly adds a little bit of a wrinkle to the game. Again, you'll treat it as a level 1 or X card, so as soon as you unlock it, you can start playing with it right away. And I'm curious to hear what you think about it. Leave your comments down below. We could talk a bit about it and see what you think. If you've already started playing Crimson Scales, also curious to hear how that's going, if your campaign is enjoying it and if you're having fun. You know, again, the expansion to that, I think, is just going to add some additional scenarios, so that'll be fun to play with as well. But leave your comments down below. If you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one.